Welcome into the Cougar Tailgate, where BYU fandom lives. Here's your host, Lauren McLean.
What's up, Cougar Nation? Lauren McLean here with Cleon Wall, and we're doing what we do best, talking all things BYU Cougars. Here's what we got coming up on the show today. BYU men's volleyball head coach Shawn Olmstead joins the show to tell us about how his young team is flourishing this year and why he thinks volleyball is the ultimate sport. Plus, we chatted with junior tight end Isaac Rex after the spring scrimmage about what he's worked on most in the offseason, his connection with Kedon Slovis, and how he matches up against the new defense. But first, there's a lot of anticipation in BYU sports right now with football and men's basketball and all sports, except men's volleyball, preparing for the Big 12. We're going to give our gut reactions to what we think will or needs to happen to keep the Cougars in the mix. Cleon, what is up?
Oh, well, I'm just here for wonderful discussions with you, Lauren. That's why I'm here every single week.
I really appreciate it. And I know you look forward to it every single week.
Of course I do.
Okay, I want you to give me your gut reaction to the following questions, starting with football. Who do you think is going to be a surprise impact player for the Cougars this season?
Surprise impact player. Okay, I'm going to go with four. Paul Mayale. He's a offensive lineman who came over for the University of Utah. I think he's going to make a big impact here. He started a bunch over at Utah. He's now coming over here. I'm not exactly sure where he's going to fit in along the offensive line because they're trying to cross-train these guys to do a lot of different things. But I think he's going to make a big impact, and they're going to really recognize him here for the impact that he makes. I'm going to go number two. Two offensive and two defensive players, by the way. For my second offensive player, I'm going to say Miles Davis. Everyone is paying attention to Aiden Robbins because he's big, he's fast. We've heard a lot about him. And I fully expect Miles Davis to have a breakout year. Maybe it's Thunder and Lightning, where Robbins is the Thunder and Davis is the Lightning, because Davis is so fast.
I like that.
He's so fast. I think we can get a lot out of him. Next, I'll say on the defense, Jackson Cravens. I think he's going to make a name for himself along that defensive line. They need big run stuffers in the BYU football defensive line. I think he's going to come home from Boise State. He also redshirted 1 year at University of Utah. He's coming home here to Provo, where he played his high school ball. I think he's going to come home and he's going to really put a name up for himself. And then finally, cornerback Maury Bamba. I think he's going to be the third cornerback for this BYU football team, but I think he could push for some playing time. You're going to see him a lot, I think, this next year.
I wish cornerback and quarterback sounded a little bit
very true,
more different.
Yes.
People are going to be like, Maury Bamba's a quarterback? Yes, Cleon said cornerback. I like those. I picked one defense and one offense for me. Chaz Ayu on the defensive side. The poor kid, Cleon, has been injured for so much of his career. He's finally healthy. I think he's actually one of the rare linebackers that got to practice through spring ball. I think it's his chance to shine with his new defense, finally live up to his potential in his senior season. Do you remember when he chose BYU as a 4-star out of high school? Do you remember that, what he did?
No, I don't.
To choose which school. He had a helicopter land in LaVell Edwards Stadium.
Oh, that's right.
That?
Yes.
Yes. When you do something like that, you gotta live up to your name. And I actually think he is incredibly talented. He just, like a lot of guys, get bitten by the injury bug. So I'm hoping that he stays healthy, and I think he will definitely be an impact player for the defensive. On the offensive side, Jake Retzlaff, and here's why. It's BYU. I don't want Kedon Slovis to get injured by we've just had our hearts broken so many times, time and time again, with mid-season QB injuries. So I think we should just bank on seeing Jake at some point this season. The good news is he's a proven quarterback who was ranked first in ESPN's junior college top 50. He'll have an immediate impact when he gets in the game, and the coaches really trust him. So I think he's going to be an impact player should Kedon Slovis go down with some injury. I'm hoping he doesn't. Listen, I hope BYU can keep all their stars healthy this coming season. And we chatted with Isaac Rex, who has battled with some injuries of his own during his career. We talked about how this spring has gone, including how he's worked on his physical and mental strength this offseason. Here's our conversation. Okay, well, just how would you summarize how spring ball went?
Spring ball was good, man. A lot of new faces coming into the team, and I feel like we played really well. We gelled really well. The coaches are obviously awesome, and they're coaching us up great. So it's been cool, man. It's been a good spring, and I'm excited for what this year has to come.
Keaton Slovis is your new quarterback. You've been used to Jaron Hall the past couple of years. What's it been like trying to get used to a new signal caller?
Yeah, Keaton's right here. He's actually right next to me, so it's good to see him. But yeah, Keaton's a stud. He's obviously has a lot of experience under his belt, and he's been playing super well this spring. And yeah, he's very accurate with the football. He knows how to fit in tight windows. So Jaron's obviously and Zach were amazing quarterbacks for us, and I think Keaton's going to carry on the tradition quite well.
You had a great year last year, and I'm sure you've been working on a lot of stuff, even though it's only been 4 or 5 months since the season ended. But what are some of those specific things you've been working on in the off season?
I think overall just, getting as healthy as possible, and I've got a lot of flexibility work I've been trying to do. Me and my wife been stretching, doing some yoga. You can never be too flexible on the football field, and so, working on that knee bend and, that ankle mobility will come a long way, I think, for my game this year. And then obviously just working on the mental side of my game, just working on, becoming a more smart football player, I think will help me in the long run. So you can never learn too much football knowledge in this game. And so, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I could work on, and I've just been working every single day.
What was tougher when you got injured and you were trying to rehab and everything? Was it the physical part or the mental part?
Probably mental. I mean, it's frustrating going through an injury like that. But honestly, I've had a lot of people in my corner. I've had a lot of people that have really helped me. Kurt Henderson was one of my he played wide receiver here at BYU, and he works for Impalas, which is a great company he lives in Texas, Dallas, Texas, and they work on the mental game, the mental side of sports and in business and companies. And he helped me a lot with overcoming, the injury, and he's still contacts me to this day and helps me with that. So yeah, just a shout out to Kurt. He's been awesome, and he's helped me out so much. So yeah, the mental side is obviously probably the more intense. The physical, that's more of dealing with pain, but mentally, it can definitely be a wear on your body if you don't get your mental right. So
absolutely, and I think that's something people don't think about as much, the mental side versus the physical side. So the defense is something new that you haven't seen, and how would you, I don't want you to compare the two defenses, but what have you seen that this defense that they're implementing this year, what does it bring?
Yeah, very aggressive defense. I mean, probably in years past we weren't as aggressive. I think we had a more conservative scheme. We were kind of okay with the other team getting 5 yards, or we were just kind of staying alive in that sense. But this defense attacks, man. Blitzes all over the field. I haven't seen as many blitzes as I have in a long time from the defense in the past. So this defense is coming, and they're flying around, and they're coming to play. So it's exciting to watch them work.
Is it tougher on you, though? Because now all of a sudden it's just I got something new to work with here.
It'd be really tough if I was a freshman, I feel like. But I've already seen a lot of football, so, I mean, it's not too tough. But, no, it's definitely a step in the right direction. And, yeah, the defense and the coaches, Jay Hill's got them all with their heads on fire. So it's way exciting to see, and they're going to kill it this year.
Now that it's just months away before you guys are in the Big 12. That's got to be kind of a crazy thing to think about. What are you feeling right now in regards to entering that conference?
I'm so excited. I've always wanted to play in a conference, and the fact that I get a chance to play in such a great conference like the Big 12, it's a dream come true for all of us at BYU, and we're excited. And there's a lot of people doubting BYU, a new team in a new conference, and I think we're gonna shock some people, So I'm excited, and it's obviously going to new territory, but we've played some teams before that have been tough and have been from the Big 12, so it's gonna be exciting. So it's a great experience.
If Isaac can stay healthy, Cleon, I think he could be another NFL guy for BYU. There are a few other former BYU players who are hoping to get their names called on the weekend of April 27th for the NFL draft. Cleon, what are your predictions for Jaron Hall, Puka Nacua, and Blake Freeland on those days?
Okay, we'll start with Jaron Hall. I think he gets drafted, but I think it's the last day of the draft, and it's going to be the last couple of rounds. I think he's probably 6th or 7th round. He'll get chosen as a quarterback. The thing that plays against him is his age. Really, that's it. I think if he wasn't as old as he was, I think he would get drafted a lot higher. but I think he's going to be valuable for someone, whether he's a starter eventually or just a really good, solid backup. You know, Jaron's such a team player. I think some team is going to recognize that, and they're going to pick him in the 6th or 7th round. Puka Nacua is so valuable here at BYU, but I think he could either be a 7th rounder or he could go undrafted. There are so many good receivers out there, and I'm not saying Puka's not good. I'm just saying I don't think people are going to see his value as much, and I really would tend to think that he's going to be a non-drafted free agent, but that's my guess, that or 7th rounder. And then Blake Freeland, I think he's drafted in either 2nd or 3rd round. It seems like really good BYU offensive linemen always find a home, even for a short time in the NFL. I think Blake could be a guy who finds a long-term home, and he's drafted fairly early.
I'm going to start with Jaren Hall, too. Experts are projecting Jaren will be picked in the 6th round, like you said, since he's behind guys like C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. There are a lot of good quarterbacks coming into the NFL draft. And I know they said that Jaren Hall was a little bit undersized. His hands, I think, were the smallest in the combine. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think he could be a solid backup for a team because he is so talented. He's a little bit older. He's more mature. And I think that's maybe what some teams are looking for. So 6th or 7th round is probably the best bet. Puka Nacua, experts are saying he's very talented, but he's raw. That BYU didn't make him run many routes and used him more of a gadget player. So they didn't really get to see what he could do as a wide receiver. They said they like his athleticism, but he needs to work on his routes. I think he'll go in the 7th round. I think he's too talented not to be drafted, Cleon. And I know a lot of really talented guys are become free agents, but I think he's shown enough of what he can do at BYU and in the combine that I think he'll get picked up in the 7th round. Blake Freeland, his vertical and broad jump caused a stir in the combine. He was incredible. He's ranked 13th in his position in the draft. I see him going in the 3rd round. I'm super excited for all these guys to get a chance. Let's transition to men's basketball. What does the men's basketball team need to do in the transfer portal to compete in the Big 12 next year? What's your gut reaction?
I would say they need a playmaker, someone who is going to get everyone involved and also can score too. I think Dallin Hall could be that guy, but they need someone other than him to do that. I think they need another big guy, or Noah Waterman really needs to become a bit more of a banger down there. He's really thin, so it's got to be one of the two. And then I think they need someone who can consistently make three-pointers. That role could be filled with a healthy Trevin Knell, who didn't play at all last season. Yeah. It could be filled with other guys shooting better on the team, that is. Or they could get a guy like USU guard Stephen Ashworth. He's from Highland, played at Lone Peak. He's 6'1". Last year for Utah State, he shot 43% from three-point range. Maybe he fits both the bill of playmaker and shooter, since he also averaged 4.5 assists a game. So I think more than anything, they need someone who can make plays for themselves and for the rest of the guys on the team.
I think Stephen Ashworth grew up a BYU fan, so BYU has a good chance of getting him in the portal. Cleon, they need a star. You mentioned they need a playmaker. I say they need a star. They need a Jimmer Fredette. And oddly enough, they're going after Syracuse guard Joe Girard, who went to Glens Falls High, the home of Jimmer Fredette, and he grew up idolizing Jimmer. So let's get him and a couple more solid bigs that are consistent to take some pressure off of Foose next year, because Foose had to carry so much, I feel like, last season. They relied on him so much, and they need a backup for him, or just a couple more solid bigs. They need a lot. They need a lot. Headed into the Big 12, which is arguably the best men's basketball league in the country. So we'll see what happens. I think that's what needs to happen. Men's volleyball is currently ranked number 6 and has had a great bounce back season. Cleon, gut reaction. Is it fair that our expectations are so high for the volleyball team every year?
I think it is a little bit unfair because, you know, everyone's going to have a down season every once in a while. Last year was a bit shocking. They lost 6 matches in a row to end the season. They only won, I believe, 9 matches the whole entire season. Most teams have a down year at some point. It's what happens afterward that really makes the team. And this team has bounced back nicely. They're still fairly young, but they're hungry. They're not expected to win it all, but those are the teams that can jump up and surprise you. So I think that sometimes we need to just take a step back and say, you know what, it's okay if you're not great all the time, because there's always room to bounce back. And that's the key, is how are you going to bounce back?
That's very kind of you. I'm going the opposite route. I think it is fair. And here's why. They've been phenomenal for 2 decades. They've just been a fantastic team. And I think that's the way they want it. I think they want expectations high. It's been that way for so long. And that's what makes men's volleyball so popular at BYU. That's why they draw huge crowds in the Smith Fieldhouse. And I think Shawn Olmstead would want those expectations to stay high. Not that you give these guys flack when they have a down year, because that's just going to happen. But how incredible the bounce back that they had from last year to this year. And it just proves that BYU is such a big name in the men's volleyball world that they can just continuously produce these really good teams and these really good players. So I think, yes, it is fair. And speaking of volleyball, Cleon, coming up, we chatted with head coach Shawn Olmstead about why his team made such a leap from last year's 8-17 season. This is Cougar Tailgate. Welcome back to Cougar Tailgate. I'm Lauren McLean alongside Cleon Wall. Joining us now is BYU men's volleyball head coach Shawn Olmstead, who's looking to finish the season out strong against Stanford at home this weekend before heading to the MPSF tournament. Shawn, thanks so much for coming on.
Yes, anytime. I'm always excited to chat with you guys, and especially that we're not using Zoom video, so I think we're all set.
No one wants to see any of our faces right now. Shawn, you guys are in a 6-game winning you're on a 6-game winning streak right now, the longest streak so far this season. Do you feel like you've found your groove as far as which guys you want to play each night and how to use their strengths?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, because I think we've found a collection of guys, and that's actually been our strength. And so we've felt really comfortable with different lineups, depending on situations, depending on matchups, and that's really benefited us. So we've got a couple, real strong guys that are in their positions, that have played in those positions, but we have gone back and forth in a couple other positions, and they've done a phenomenal job, and I do believe this team has sort of embraced that and understand that. And so the most important thing is the communication on our level. And we've been doing that, before matches. Hey, we're going to go with this lineup. We're going to go with these guys right now. And we need you be ready at any time. We might switch things up. We've made those changes. We've even made them in the middle of the set. We've made them at the end of sets. We've made them at the start of new matches. So I do believe we've found some things there.
How's the team feeling right now? Are they a bit more relaxed because you've been playing so much better this year compared to last season?
Yeah, I don't know if relaxed, because I think they're actually, we had a really good practice week of practices, and that was our we laid that out last week with us not playing. We really needed to focus, and we were able to get some guys some rest that we felt would benefit them, get some reps with the younger guys, but maintain a really high level, because you can, when you don't have a match coming up that weekend, you can kind of get a little sloppy, get a little carefree. The weather's warming up. It wasn't at the start of the week, obviously, but at the end of the week it was, and you can get a little bit loose. But the guys did a phenomenal job. Like, we had a great week of practice. And so I don't know if relaxed is the right word. They're excited. I mean, they really are, because here we are, we're down the home stretch. We've got, what we can control is in our hands, and we've got to be able to do that. And we understand that, and keep moving forward.
You've got a pretty young team. Have you seen them grow and progress throughout the season? And maybe that's one of the reasons you guys are doing so well. I mean, you've done so well throughout the season, but even more so now towards the end of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Them learning through mistakes at the start of the season, learning through experience. And I always tell everybody that the reality is, I think experience in anything is kind of the master teacher, and that's anything. Experience from day one when you arrive on a college campus as it relates to just being a normal student. You have no idea what's ahead of you, and by the time you're through your first year, you understand I got to say no to some blind dates. I've got to I've got to prioritize the time I'm going to do homework. I've got to put aside weekends for projects. And so that comes with experience. And you show up on day one of a job, you really don't know what's in store or what's ahead. And then after a month of 40-hour weeks or more, you are more experienced. And so I definitely feel that as it relates to some of these guys, just getting more and more opportunities to be put in those situations and learning from those things.
Last season, you finished the season 8-17. You lost your last 6 matches. Maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but it kind of sounds like just the experience of last season and then what the team has done so far this season, that experience that they've gone through, that's got them to where they are right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we talked about that at the start, first meeting back in, seems so far away, but September when they arrived on campus, it was obvious that with us returning so many of the guys that went through that season, just a little different mindset and the experience of that. Again, there's the experience factor. And so they definitely grew from that. They definitely learned a lot, no doubt individually that they would share with me in meetings, and they learned collectively because of so many of the guys that were a part of that.
Well, speaking of experience, you brought in transfer setter Heath Hughes into the program from Grand Canyon. What impact has he had on the team this season?
Yeah, exactly that. Really, really high volleyball IQ, and that shows. He traveled. When was that? September. He was down in Brazil. He missed school. He was playing for the U.S. collegiate beach team down in Brazil, and you don't just get selected on that team because you know how to pass and hit a volleyball. You qualify for that. You make it through the ranks of a lot of collegiate players. So he's got really, really good experience. Got very, very high volleyball IQ, and that's from a lot of years of being in another Division I program and a good program, and him getting reps and playing, and he was a starter over there for a handful of years, and he beat us, while he was at Grand Canyon as their setter. So he did bring a level of confidence, a level of experience, maturity, and also just kind of like, hey, this is my last go and I want to make the most of it. And from day one, there was zero, in my mind, there was like no transition. I mean, he fell right in line with the guys, a great teammate, a great friend, and, a pretty darn good leader just by example, doing the right things and working as hard as he can every day. And so that was a massive get for us, and he contributed to our team immensely.
You guys are 12-0 at home this season. How much is it an advantage getting to play at the Smith Fieldhouse?
Well, it's just, there's 2 volleyball venues that can do what we can do here at the Smith Fieldhouse. That's us and Hawaii. And Hawaii has the capacity to get more fans, and so they do, especially with their success recently, and so that's exciting to see, and because it's good for our sport. But there's no doubt there's something to be said being at home, and it's a ton of factors, just your schedule, your routines. You're able to kind of get in the zone. You're not at the mercy of the other arenas. You can kind of go through your schedules. You know what they are when you're home. Like I mentioned, you know what those routines are, and you're pretty familiar with those things. So that's always a benefit to any team.
Shawn, I don't know about you, but I think I have partial hearing loss because of the Smith Fieldhouse, and you've been doing this a lot longer than I have. Do you seriously? I'm being dead serious. After the matches, do you go home and you're like yelling at your wife and kids on accident because it gets so loud in that place?
Yeah, no. I usually get home like with this weird ringing in my ears, obviously. And for me, of course, I'm processing so much more as it relates to the match, the results, the shoulda, woulda, coulda throughout the match, whether it ended in our, for a win for the Cougars or a loss, and processing all those things. And I'm usually there's two things, if it's one of those long 5-setters, which we've had a few here, it'll be almost impossible for me to tone down, like kind of wind down. And so I'm usually just, my ears are ringing, my head kind of has this little headache, and I'm awake, I'm alert, and I'm usually awake for quite some time because of just everything, the energy, the excitement, plus the volume level for sure. And that ringing, it doesn't go away. Like, my head just feels strange, and so it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have, I think, in those situations. But it's such a cool place to play and just have the fans right there. A great group of fans. I mean, so many of those fans were there when I played, and they've been there, and they've been these loyal supporters, these people that you just see, Friday and Saturday, it's set aside for Cougar volleyball. And that's just so cool. And we can never say thank you enough to the community and what's going on here.
You're also 4-6 away from Smith Fieldhouse. Is there a reason why? Does that go back to these guys still being kind of young and experiencing things? And is that a little concerning to you as you get ready to go into the MPSF tournament?
No, I mean, because I really don't go and kind of process that as it relates to the record away. The reality is that every great team, if you're going to be a great team, and if you're going to be a team that wants to, be the most that you can be, and wants to compete for championships, whether the conference championships or national championships, you've got to go on the road and play matches. And we've gone on the road, and actually, I believe we've done quite well on the road this year. We beat Ball State on the road. We had them on the ropes. I think we could have beat them 2 nights, but one of the nights slipped away from us. We had a really, really solid win on the road against UC Irvine, and then we had Grand Canyon on the ropes as well. One challenge away from having match point. So I actually have a different perspective on our road record. It's been a very good, really good, solid experience for us on the road. And I think that's what the guys know that too. And the guys feel that. So as it relates to the record and boom, on paper, I've never thought twice about that. You're telling me I would have never known. If you would have asked before you stated those numbers, if you would have asked me, I would have had no idea. It would have taken me a minute to go, okay, boom. I would have had to calculate, taken me a legit minute or 2 minutes to think about it and go, okay, here's where we've been, and this is what our record is on the road.
For those listeners who don't know, your sister Heather is the women's volleyball coach. Pretty sure everyone knows that. But
yes,
do you ever go to?
No, not everyone. It's weekly. I get told that my wife is doing such a great job with the women's team. So not everybody, but yes, that is my sister.
Oh man, that's good stuff. Do you ever go to Heather for advice, or does she ever give you unsolicited advice since she is your sister?
No, I think, I mean, really, no, the honest truth is, no, not very much. Actually, neither. She doesn't come to me. I mean, we chat volleyball because we're all here. If you know, right. Our office is, the setup here is they're downstairs, their whole entire staff and our staff is all upstairs. So we're always chatting back and forth, but not, we're not chopping up volleyball. We're not chatting too much about it. We're, hey, good win or tough loss, and it's fun to see this or fun to see that, or hey, how did that go, or what'd you think here? So I guess little things here and there, but I don't go down there and go, hey, Heather, we're coming up on these matches. What's your thoughts here or there? We kind of both do our own thing, and but we do interact, on a daily basis.
There's something about volleyball that's just so different from other sports. I will never, ever consider myself a volleyball expert, but I love watching it. You've been playing and coaching it for such a long time. For you, why is it the ultimate, whether you say playing sport or spectator sport? Why is it the ultimate sport for you?
It's one of those sports where you really have to be a great team. You've really got, and you can say that about a lot of sports, but you can also look at some sports and you can have a LeBron James that can take over a game and he can just keep the ball to himself and he can go win basketball games. Every time down the floor, he can keep the ball. Volleyball is different. There's got to be touches and I know there's other sports that are like that, but I just think the skill level to, for us, especially, you've got a ball traveling at this speed to be able to just, have these perfect contacts. And then I've got to rely on my teammate to have another good contact. And then maybe I touch it again and I've got to do those things well. And there's so much also when you're not involved directly in the play, there's a lot of things I've got to do. I've got to cover the blockers. I've got to communicate. I've got to be involved. I've got to be given information. So I just think it's a great team sport where a lot of people are involved in every play because you can't have 2 touches in a row by yourself. So you really do need your teammates to help you and you help them. And then together we as a team kind of go and get to compete and help each other out.
It's just so explosive and fast paced. I've never seen anything like it. I love it so much. And one other thing I love, you always have such an eclectic team with guys from all around the country, all around the world, some members of the church, some are not. How do you balance all the different cultures and personalities as the head coach of the team?
Yeah, I mean, we constantly do our best from day one of each new year to bring these guys together and talk about the value of what is being a team. And I think, for the most part, we do a pretty darn good job. And I think as it relates to the members of the church and the non-members, that's a big deal to us. Every single person on our team, every member of our team is so valuable and so crucial to our success. We've got to bring these guys in, and it's important for our guys that are members. It's important for them to listen to the non-members and understand what their experience is here at BYU and try to find an opportunity to help them through that experience, to just be listening, to understanding. Because a lot of times I don't think we do that well. I really don't. And it's a very unique and can be a wonderful experience. But I think a lot of times we just get caught up in that and just go, hey, BYU's amazing, BYU's this and BYU's that, without ever sitting back and going, hey, maybe it isn't immediately for everybody, right?
Right.
Maybe it isn't because it's a completely brand new experience for these kids, something they've never experienced in their lifetime, and we're not listening and we're not understanding. And so we've made a massive effort and done all we can and do all we can to be able to discuss those things openly and communicate so that those guys can openly share their experience and we can listen and we can try to help.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that so much. And I honestly couldn't agree more. And I think you guys do such a fantastic job. And I love the different personalities on the team. It is just what makes you guys you, in my opinion. We're here with BYU men's volleyball head coach Shawn Olmstead. Shawn, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck against Stanford this weekend and in the MPSF tournament.
All right. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all the coverage and all the support. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Shawn.
Okay, Shawn, we got it. We appreciate it.
All right. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
You're awesome. Thanks so much, Shawn. Good talking to you.
All right. You too.
And that does it for us today. Thanks again to Isaac Rex and Shawn Olmstead for coming on the show with us. You can join the Cougar Tailgate wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYURadio.org. Cougar Tailgate is a production of BYU Radio.